There is a saying in the Shaolin tradition, a man who conquers himself is more powerful than one who conquers 1,000 in battle. If you want to become smarter, sharper in the mind, clearer in thought, more dangerous not in violence but in presence, you must stop searching outward and begin observing inward. The true brain hack is not a trick, it is a transformation. Let me share 4 realizations, 4 steps that will unlock the power already within you. The modern world is overflowing with noise. It is not just sound but mental clutter, distractions, endless thoughts, and external stimulation that prevent the human mind from resting. In this environment, we mistake constant activity for intelligence and motion for progress. But in truth, real growth and power arise from stillness, not chaos. There is a reason the Shaolin monks begin their training not with kicks or punches but with silence. The first lesson is not to fight the world, but to stop fighting yourself. Your breath, your heartbeat, your thoughts must all slow down before your potential can rise. In silence, the mind begins to align with its natural rhythm. That rhythm is not fast, it is deep, like the quiet water that runs beneath a mountain, calm and powerful. Most people feed their minds every second with content, noise and information, believing that more input means more knowledge, more awareness, more capacity. But a flooded mind is not a sharp mind. It is dull, it is distracted. It is too full to learn something new. The paradox is this: the less noise you allow, the more intelligence you gain, because your brain stops wasting energy on processing junk and starts directing its full power toward one thing. Now imagine the mind as a lake. If the surface is always rippling, always being disturbed, then no reflection is visible. But if the water is still, it becomes a mirror. That mirror shows you everything. It shows you your patterns, your weaknesses, your impulses, and your untapped strengths. Silence is the key to that mirror. Without it, you live blindly, reacting, not understanding, not choosing, just following. The problem is silence is not easy. In fact, it is uncomfortable for many people. Facing these, we run back to noise. Social media, music, television, even random scrolling. Anything but silence. But if you can stay, if you can sit and breathe and do nothing, you will see that these thoughts lose their power. They come, they go, you remain. And that is the real hack. You start becoming the observer of the mind, not its servant. When you stop reacting to every internal noise, your mind gets stronger, more focused, more dangerous. Think of it like this. In battle, the most dangerous fighter is not the one who moves first, but the one who waits, watches, sees everything and strikes with precision. The same is true of the mind. A quiet mind sees more and does more with less effort. This is the kind of mind you must build. A mind trained in silence is not empty, it is charged. And once you have touched that inner stillness, you will notice something powerful. Decisions become easier, focus becomes natural. Learning accelerates, emotions stop ruling you, and suddenly you are no longer fighting against life. You are flowing with it. A sharp mind is not one that knows everything, but one that sees clearly. A quiet mind is a clear mind. All great masters across time knew this. The warrior, the monk, the philosopher, they all trained their minds to sit in stillness before they acted. This is not weakness, this is control. When you learn to be alone with yourself in silence, you unlock layers of perception that the noisy world never gives you. And when others are exhausted from mental chaos, you are calm, precise, aware. So if you want to become smarter, truly smarter, stop feeding your mind with distraction. and start listening to what it is saying without noise. You will be shocked at how intelligent you already are when nothing is pulling your mind in 20 directions. Your natural intelligence is not missing. It is hidden under layers of noise. Silence reveals it. This is the first step, the foundational shift. If you cannot command your mind to be still for even 5 minutes, how can you expect it to perform under stress, under pressure, under fire? You build strength in the silence, not in the noise. Let the world chase speed, you chase depth. Let them scroll, you sit. Let them react, you observe. They will burn out, you will rise. Stay with silence until silence stays with you. Then walk into the world as someone new, someone focused, someone not to be distracted, someone not to be deceived, someone not to be defeated. Observation is not looking. Observation is not watching. Observation is becoming so still that everything around you reveals itself without effort. When you truly observe, you do not just use your eyes, you use your entire awareness. Your skin begins to feel more, your breath becomes more quiet, your thoughts settle into the background, and suddenly you begin to see what was always there, but never noticed. Most people walk through life half awake. They think they see, but they are blind to patterns. They hear sounds, but they miss the message. They look at faces, but they do not see the person behind the eyes. They miss details that matter because their minds are too busy judging, labeling, assuming, filling in blanks without checking what is real. This is not intelligence. This is automatic behavior, and automatic behavior keeps you limited. Observation begins with slowing down your response. Instead of reacting instantly, you pause. You feel, you sense. You wait a little longer than others. You do not need to answer right away. You do not need to move first. You let everything around you show itself without pushing it. This is where strength builds. Every time you hold your impulse to judge or respond or interrupt or control, you sharpen your observation. And observation is not passive, it is active stillness. The difference is subtle, but it is life-changing. Passive stillness is dull waiting, doing nothing. Observation is alive, it watches, it listens, it picks up on what others miss. A shift in voice, a tension in the jaw, a hesitation in a sentence, the way someone holds their hands or breathes when no one is watching. These are not small things. These are signs. They tell you more than words ever can. When you observe like this, the world slows down. You become aware of patterns in others and in yourself. You start to understand how certain people always avoid eye contact before lying, how some force a smile when feeling insecure, how certain situations always bring out fear in you, even though you act confident. You begin to see behind the mask, and when you can see the mask, you stop being manipulated by it. Most people get caught in stories created by others. Someone speaks with authority and we follow. Someone uses charm and we trust. Someone shows emotion and we surrender. But if you train observation, you see the real motive. You hear what is not said. You feel what is being hidden. That makes you powerful. This power is not loud. It is not aggressive. It is quiet, sharp, dangerous. You do not need to prove anything. You do not need to argue or convince. You already know what is happening because you are watching not from your ego but from awareness. There is a big difference between reacting and understanding. Observation gives you understanding. Try it for one day, one full day. Choose to say less and see more. Not just people, but your environment. The way your body feels at different times of the day, how your mood changes after certain actions, how your thoughts shift with different food or movement or silence. Notice what drains you and what strengthens you. These are invisible patterns, but they control your life until you see them. The more you observe, the more invisible threads you start to uncover. You begin to understand cause and effect. You see how one careless word changes a relationship, how one deep breath changes your emotion, how one moment of patience avoids a disaster. You stop living randomly and start living precisely. Now, this precision is not about controlling everything. It is about being so present that you can make small adjustments with great impact. That is intelligence. That is what makes you more dangerous. You are no longer a pawn moved by others. You are the one who sees the board. You can step aside when needed. You can move forward when the time is right. And when you act, it is with full awareness, not impulse. The modern world trains you to look, but not to see. Scroll, but not to study. Hear, but not to listen. This weakens the mind and keeps you distracted. But your mind is capable of much more. You just have to remove what numbs it and train it to observe again. Like sharpening a blade that has been rusted by overuse and misuse. In Shaolin training, we are taught to walk through the forest and hear the wind not just as noise but as message. We watch the leaves not just as background but as signs of change. We look at the ground not just to walk but to understand what passed before us. This is not mystical. This is mastery. Seeing what others ignore leads to actions that others cannot take. Think of the person who notices the shift in a room before anyone speaks. They sense the mood. They feel the energy change. They are already adjusting before others even realize something has changed. That person does not need to dominate. They already lead by awareness. They already win by presence. And this is what makes you truly smart. Observation is the root of intelligence. You cannot understand what you do not first see. You cannot change what you do not first recognize. The more you observe, the more data your mind collects, the more patterns it sees, the more effective it becomes. This is how learning truly happens, not just by reading, not just by hearing, but by watching everything without trying to change it. It is important to remember this is not about becoming paranoid or suspicious. This is about becoming more alive, aware, awake, fully engaged with your senses. Your perception is your power, and it does not require you to be the loudest or fastest, just the clearest. To become smarter, you must sharpen your observation. And that means you train your awareness to move ahead of your words, ahead of your actions. You live one step ahead, not because you predict the future, but because you see the present more clearly than others. Practice this until your presence alone shifts the energy around you, because people can feel when they are being truly seen. And that kind of seeing cannot be faked. It comes from deep observation, trained over time, practiced in silence, refined by patience. Let your awareness become your advantage. Let your attention become your strength. Let your observation become the quiet weapon that changes everything without force. There is a rhythm that lives inside every human being. A rhythm older than thought, older than emotion, older than memory. It begins before you speak, before you walk, before you understand anything. The first thing you ever did was inhale. The last thing you will do is exhale. Between these two moments, your entire life happens. Your breath is not just something your body does to survive. It is the bridge between your mind and your body, the doorway between your awareness and your potential. When your breath is shallow, your mind is scattered. When your breath is fast, your heart races, your emotions spin, your focus disappears. But when your breath becomes calm, when you inhale with awareness and exhale with intention, everything inside you shifts. The mind slows down, the emotions soften, the chaos disappears, and clarity returns. That is not philosophy, it is biology, and it is training. Most people do not breathe, they survive. They allow the body to function automatically without ever questioning what is being controlled and what is being ignored. But in the path of mastery, nothing is automatic. Everything must be intentional. The breath must be trained, not just to increase oxygen, but to shape the state of the brain and nervous system. In the tradition of the monks, the breath is more than air. It is energy. It is life force. It is the first step in gaining control over the mind, because it is the one function that connects both the voluntary and involuntary systems in the body. You cannot force your heart to slow down by thinking about it. You cannot stop your digestion by willpower, but you can control your breath, and by doing so influence everything else. This is why when a student first arrives at the temple, they are not asked to meditate for hours or perform physical feats. They are asked to breathe slowly and do it again and again and again, because without command over breath, there is no command over thought, and without command over thought, there is no path to wisdom, only reaction, only chaos, only illusion. A sharp mind does not come from thinking harder, it comes from thinking clearer. And clarity is a result of stillness, not strain. The breath creates that stillness. You do not chase it. You create the condition in which it arrives. Every inhale should be full, but not forced. Every exhale should be long enough to empty what you are holding inside, physically and mentally. Now think of how many moments in your life were lost because of untrained breathing. Anger rising too fast, panic overtaking logic, fear interrupting your words. Your breath was uncontrolled, and so your actions were automatic. Your breath was shallow, and so your thinking was narrow. Every time you lose your breath, you lose your power. But once you begin to train it, everything changes. Your breath becomes your anchor in stress, your shield in conflict, your weapon in silence. When others panic, you remain calm. When others rush, you remain centered. This is not magic, it is breath work. And it must be practiced daily, not just when you are in crisis, but especially when you are not, because what you train in peace will serve you in pressure. Imagine walking into a room and being able to slow your breath in an instant. Your heart rate adjusts, your posture settles, your awareness expands, and your presence becomes heavy, not aggressive but grounded. You do not need to speak, and people feel it. This is the effect of trained breath, and it is rare in this fast world, but powerful beyond measure. Control of the breath does not mean holding it or forcing it. It means harmonizing it. It means learning to breathe with your whole body and allowing your nervous system to follow that rhythm. The brain is listening to your breath more than it listens to your thoughts. You can think you are calm, but if your breath is tight, the brain does not believe you. You can think you are confident, but if your breath is weak, your energy leaks. The breath does not lie. And so the first thing you must ask when you feel confused or reactive or weak is not what am I thinking, but how am I breathing? Fix the breath and the mind follows. Fix the breath and the emotions settle. Fix the breath and the clarity returns. This is not something you do once. This is not a trick for a moment. This is a lifestyle. This is the foundation of internal power. It does not require silence or solitude or a special place. You can train it anywhere, in the middle of traffic, in the noise of the world, in the middle of conflict. One conscious breath. And everything can change. One breath taken with awareness can stop a mistake, can create a new path, can return you to yourself. If you do this consistently, your entire identity will shift. You stop being someone who reacts. You become someone who chooses. You stop being pulled by emotion. You begin to ride it like a wave. You stop fearing the unknown because your breath becomes your companion, and with it you can face anything because your breath is always here. Let go of the idea that intelligence is only about knowledge. True intelligence lives in the body, in the breath, in the space between your thoughts. The breath creates that space. Without space there is no insight, only noise. Without breath, there is no power, only pressure. Without awareness of breath, there is no awareness of life. So if you want to become sharper, more focused, more present, and more powerful, begin with the breath. Do not rush it, do not fake it, just return to it again and again until it becomes your default, not just in silence, but in every moment. Train your breath until it becomes your ally, your guide, your inner compass. And when others are scattered, you will be steady. When others are lost in thought, you will be anchored in presence. And the more you master your breath, the less you will need to prove anything, because your presence alone will speak louder than words ever could. Breathe with purpose until purpose breathes through you. Not every thought that enters your mind is true. Not every voice in your head belongs to you. Some thoughts are echoes from the past. Some are fears you absorbed from others. Some are patterns created by repetition, not by truth. The problem begins when you believe all of them, when you follow every thought as if it is a command and not a suggestion. That is how you give your power away. The weak thoughts are easy to recognize once you stop identifying with them. They sound like excuses. They sound like hesitation. They sound like the voice that always finds a reason not to act, not to speak, not to try. That voice is not your enemy, but it is also not your guide. It is a leftover. It is fear speaking in disguise. Detachment does not mean you stop thinking. It means you stop becoming what you think. There is a deep difference. You still hear the thoughts, but you no longer attach to them like they are part of your identity. Instead, you observe them the way you would observe clouds moving across the sky. You do not chase them, you do not hold them, you simply notice and allow them to pass. This is where real intelligence begins. You see, not just what you are thinking, but the quality of the thought. You begin to ask, is this thought serving me or stopping me? Is it building me or weakening me? Is this mine or something I was told 1,000 times until I believed it? You stop being a follower of thought and start becoming a leader of awareness. A weak thought may say, I cannot do this, but your awareness replies, maybe that is just fear. A weak thought may say, I am not ready, and your presence says, maybe I will never be ready in the way I imagine, so I begin anyway. That is not denial. That is detachment. Detachment gives you the ability to move without waiting for perfect conditions, perfect feelings, perfect certainty. This does not happen in one day. You train it the same way you train your body or your breath. You sit in silence. You watch your mind. You allow the thoughts to rise without grabbing them. You allow discomfort without needing to fix it. You let the storm pass without running into it. The reason this training makes you more dangerous is because most people are ruled by their thoughts. They are slaves to internal noise, and they act without question. They believe everything they think, and that makes them predictable, easy to control, easy to trigger. But once you stop obeying every thought, you become calm, focused, unreadable, because you are no longer reacting to mental noise. In the same way a warrior trains to not flinch under threat, you train to not flinch under threat. A strong thought comes, you examine it. A weak thought comes, you release it. There is no struggle, no war, just observation and choice. That is freedom, and freedom of mind is the greatest strength. Weak thoughts love comfort. They love drama. They love delay. They will always choose the easy path because they are born from fear, and fear does not like effort. It wants safety, not growth. You cannot stop fear from visiting you, but you can stop it from becoming your master. Begin to pay attention to your internal language. Notice the phrases that repeat, especially the ones that hold you back. They are patterns, not truths. They are habits, not wisdom. When you begin to challenge them, something changes. A space opens up between the thought and your reaction, and in that space is where power lives. That space is small at first, but it grows with awareness and breath. Each time you choose to wait before responding, each time you choose to breathe before believing, you expand that space until you no longer live in reaction but in response, not in panic but in presence. Weak thoughts can sound logical, but still be false. They often wear the mask of reason to hide the fear underneath. You must learn to feel what is behind the thought. Is it coming from strength or fear? Is it expanding you or shrinking you? That is how you test the thought, without needing to argue with it. Once you start doing this, you realize something important. Your mind can be full of thoughts, and yet you can still be clear. Your head can be noisy, and yet your actions can be sharp, because you are no longer inside the thought. You are watching from outside and choosing what to follow. That is true intelligence. That is what separates noise from wisdom. Let the weak thoughts rise and call. Let them scream if they must, but you do not move unless the signal is true. That is not stubbornness, that is mastery. You walk not because your mind says run, but because your awareness says now is the right time. This training creates presence. You are no longer controlled by what you feel for a moment. You are guided by what you know, from silence, from breath, from observation. And when you move, you do so with the full strength of someone who has chosen every step, not stumbled into it. Do not fear your mind. Understand it. Train it. Command it. It is a powerful tool, but only when you sit in the seat of awareness, not in the seat of emotion, not in the seat of fear. You are not the thought, you are the one who sees it. You are not the noise, you are the silence that holds it all. So detach, not with coldness, but with clarity, not with resistance, but with recognition, not to escape, but to see. And once you see clearly, you will never be fooled by weakness again. Walk your path with this presence. Not every step will be easy, but every step will be yours.